Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me for another Lifting the Curtain interview. Today, I'm joined by Stephen Webb. Stephen is currently playing Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Show. The show is coming to Northampton's Royal and Delegate next week from the 4th to the 9th of July. Link for tickets is down below, and I hope you enjoy this conversation.
We're in Glasgow this week, and it hasn't stopped raining.
Ooh,
this is the first point that it's been dry. Do you know what I mean? But all coming to the end of it for a little while, and then start up again in October. We're actually coming back to Leicester next year.
Oh, I did not know that. So there you go. That's exciting. Yeah. I'm coming on. I'm coming on Monday, so glorious. Because
are you putting you putting on any costumes on?
I will have my lab coat and fishnets out. I will find them.
Good.
Find them in the cupboard somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's pressure. It's for pressure when it's because it's press night again, isn't it? So it's kind of pressure when you rock up, because obviously I know the press team now, so you're like, it's a different side to it.
The thing is, you feel left out if you don't dress up. Like, the thing is, the more it becomes towards the weekend, the more rowdy it becomes, you know, and people that are dressed normally, you think you feel a bit out of place.
Yes, you're like, well, surely you know what it is, kind of like. It's all good. Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure it'll be great next week, hopefully. I mean, it's my 70th on Monday, so.
It's 70th time watching it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Wow.
It's all adding up.
You really love the show.
I've got the t-shirt, I've got a poster behind.
I've even saw the poster. What's that? Is that the 25th anniversary?
It's the it's David Berdella when he was first in it one. So whenever that was, 2006.
Oh, I think it was in the 30th or 35th, something like that.
Yeah, it's the first one. That was the first one I saw back in the day.
Right, I see. He was cracking. He was very good in it as Frankenfurter.
He was, as are you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I've not seen you as many times as him yet, but there's still time.
Well, I'm doing it now until October of next year. Yeah. So, I think you'll be bored of me by the end of that.
No. So, I mean, David must have been 10 years or so. I must have seen him kind of on and off. So.
Yeah, actually, you're right. He did it for a long time. He did it for a long stint, and he's one of them. He's like when I joined it, and then I had the opportunity of doing the 50th anniversary. I wanted to be part of that history of this show. Do you know what I mean? I absolutely love it, and it's like you've seen. I've been in this game for about just over 20 years, and there's not been a show like it, and this is by far one of my favourites, and will always stick in my mind for the rest of my life. I think it was one of those shows that actually pushed the boundaries in me. Do you know what I mean? I felt very uncomfortable and out of my comfort zone, and but once I started and put on the heels and the corset and everything, just brought out a different side to me. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's a good time to throw my first question at you, being simply, what attracted you to Frank?
Well, first of all, I had a call from my agent in 2019, and he said, you're going up for Rocky Horror, and I thought I was going to go up for, like, Brad. Yeah. So I thought, fine. And they said, no, you're going up for Frank. And I went, Frank? Yeah. I said, it was never in my, in my noggin that I was going to be, going up for Frank. And went in there, and they gave me Sweet Transvestite, and they gave me the lab scene, and they were saying it was just the casting director at the time, and he just said, we're just going to do it together. And I was like, okay. It was like the preliminary rounds before I meet the whole creative team. And I thought, well, I can't go in there just singing Sweet Transvestite. Yeah. So I ended up putting on a tight vest, put some heels on, and I put this shirt that I could rip off, and basically took my clothes off in front of him and strutted around the rehearsal room. And afterwards, he went, "Do that again, and I'll bring you in a few weeks' time in front of the team." Anyway, I did the same thing, and in my head, I thought, they've always had a name, they've always had someone who's well known, and thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. So I went in there and it seemed to do the trick. And I met Richard O'Brien before I started, and he gave me so much. Well, he got me drunk, actually. Gave me a couple of drinks, and he told me everything about Rocky Horror and a lot about Frank. And the rest is history. And what attracted me to Frank, I suppose, was what I loved about it when I started creating him and everything. My director said, we want to have your own version. We don't want you to copy Tim Curry, who was so iconic to it. The fans sometimes like something different. So I've had to do my own version of how I see him. But what I love about him is that he's one of them characters that you can be whoever you want to be, and all the time I'm learning from Frank, and it's really stretched my mind with him, and also just the people that come and come and celebrate our show. Do you know what I mean? It's been going on for nearly 50 years. I've never had a show like it, and that's why I'm back doing it all again, because I love it. I absolutely love it, and it's one of the best parts I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, and as we kind of touched on it, but were you kind of daunted, like you say, coming into that history, kind of a show that's been around for 45 odd years before you kind of joined it? Is that daunting for you to come and...
Oh my God. Yeah, when I first started, we opened in Brighton, which is kind of like, for the tour, it's like birthplace to open Rocky Horror. And we were there over Christmas. And anyway, I hadn't actually put on all my gear beforehand. And then they gave me a big bag full of like makeup and everything. And they went, there you go. And I went, whoa, hang on. What? I thought that I was going to have someone putting the makeup on me or guiding me through it. They went, no. You're a transvestite. You're a man that likes putting on women's clothing. And I was like, So obviously I found that really daunting, of trying to do my own style of his makeup. And then putting on the corset, and putting on the makeup, putting on the wig, putting on the heels. I looked at myself in the mirror and I couldn't see myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was like, it brought out a different ego in me. And anyway, I have this big old cloak and behind the doors before I come out, and people told me anyway that the fans will let you know if they like you or not, and they're very vocal, as you know, and I came out and I was like, oh, please let them like me. Do you know what I mean? And I came out and the doors opened and they went crazy, especially when I whipped off this cloak. Yeah. And they saw in my whole gear. I was like, I'm in safe hands. I'm all right. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of it is about embracing. It's about diversity. It's about sexual liberation. And I think as soon as I honed into that actually you can be whoever you want to be, shape, sizes, or whatever gender or race or anything like that. It doesn't care. It really, and we're here to have fun, and that's the whole point of this show. It's a real good fun, and I just, So me feeling daunting, it went within 5 minutes of me being on that stage. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, I had this big old cloud over me over the first 6 weeks of rehearsing. And everything, thinking, because they've had big names doing it, Jason Donovan, David Badella, they've had some really huge names, everyone always recognises the part from Tim Curry, and why not? He was absolutely amazing in the part. And also I was doing it different, I wasn't putting on an English accent, which, originally I auditioned in an English accent, but they wanted it to be in my own American. I do a American Southern twang type of thing with him, because people don't realise he's an alien. Yeah. He's an alien from a planet from transsexual, and he's come down to Earth, and he's picked things from movies or from magazines that he loves. Do you know what I mean? I kind of see him as a pansexual man, that he sees things, goes, oh, I like that. It's like when he's creating Rocky, he sees Rocky as like a muscle man. He must be seeing it on TV. He goes, "That's what I want." And then when Brad and Janet come into his castle, they're like two Barbie dolls for him. They're like Barbie and Ken, and he likes what he could mold them and do with them. And it's like a challenge. That's what I love. Is that you either love him or hate him. At the end of the day, you'll still cry at the end. So I know that's a long question, but Rocky Horror is so. There's so much to it. Even though some parts of it could not make sense, but you make sense out of it. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's such a cult following. And it's got such a huge following to it, and people love it.
Yeah, and kind of, I know you've touched on it a little bit, but what was kind of what goes through your head that kind of 5-10 seconds where you're behind the doors, just about to burst out? What's kind of in your mind there?
Okay, so I come down slightly early. So when people are doing the time warp, I'm getting a cloak on, and then I'm just having final checks before going backstage. And I've got a little crack in the doors so I can see you guys. Do you know what I mean? And that gets me really cheered up, because when I see everyone, because everyone gets up and does the time warp, and everyone is singing it and everything. So that really gets me up and going. And then he has, obviously Frank doesn't come on until 20 minutes into the show. So then there's a vamp for him before he starts his number, and everyone goes crazy for it. And it's more, obviously when you first start a show, you have that, that nerves and everything. But now I kind of feed off the crowd, and so that's what really gets me going. And as you know, the crowd, there's not a crowd like it than the Rocky Horror crowds. So I need to say as well is that the audience are like the third character in the show. They're very crucial, especially they have their own script, they have their own shout outs, and I think it's amazing that there's no other show out there that's like it. And I think that's why that people come back every single year or every single week, because a show that you're going to see on a Monday is going to be completely different on a Saturday night.
Yes.
And as an actor, to perform to something like that is liberating, because you don't know what you're going to get from us as well. Sometimes you think, I don't know what this crowd's going to be like tonight. Either we'll have to try and calm them down, or just ride that wave with them. So yeah. Yeah,
I would wholeheartedly. I think that's one of the. It's like you say, it's one of them shows that I've seen it 70 times or 69 times, but every time is completely bonkers and different. Kind of, there's no two the same, is there? But that's kind of good.
Yeah.
But as you said already, 50 years next year. Why do you think it continues to sell out audiences up and down the country?
Well, I think Rocky Horror has become more current than it has ever before. We celebrate diversity and being. You can be whoever you want to be, and I think when Richard O'Brien wrote it, I don't think he realised how current it is to this day. And I think people that have never seen the show before come with an open mind, because everyone thinks, it's going to be really airy and everything. No, it's not. It's not the case. It's actually embracing, and it's an experience. And I guarantee you will not laugh as much in any other show when you come to see Rocky Horror. It's funny, it's sexy, and who doesn't like getting up and doing the time warp? Yeah. Everyone knows the time warp, and I think every single person that I've met, it was this first time that have come to see it. They've always come back. I'll come back again. I'm going to get dressed up, and it's because they feel like they're part of the show. And I think that we're getting a lot more of a younger crowd coming in, which is brilliant, because it means that new generation is going to push this show in for another, hopefully another 50 years. We just don't know, and this show will keep changing and evolving. And I think that's great, and I think the audience who are going to come and watch it on the 50th, maybe their first time, definitely won't be their last time, but they'll come and watch it. And I'm proud to be part of that, of that era, and that, you know, this journey of this show, because, you know, I've had people saying once they've seen Rocky Horror, you're part of the family, and I feel like I'm part of the family of this show, and that's with everyone that comes to see the show, because they are part of it as well. They're quite integral to the show, the audience, and so yeah, I think well, when you come, just come with an open mind. You know, your first time. But then I guarantee you'll be back again. You'll have your fishnets on, and you'll have your favourite costumes on, and you'll start learning the shout-outs.
You will. Obviously, I know your time has been kind of bookended almost by the pandemic, which is a bit of a pain. But kind of, what have you said have been like your standout highlights of your journey so far with the show?
My standout highlights. Okay, so in terms of crowds, or in terms of like venues, you know, it seems to be the further higher we go up the country, the more loud they become. And there's a few that are like one of the loudest, to the point where I couldn't even hear music. It was a proper party, and that was in Sunderland and in Glasgow. Funny enough, we were in Glasgow beginning of this year. Now we've just come back because we sold it out. There's a few that are up there. Actually, another one was Swansea. We hadn't been to Swansea for years. It hadn't been there, and I think they were really excited about having this show there and actually bringing in the crowd, because this show brings in a crowd from all over the place. You know, considering it's been going on for so long, it still brings in the crowd. And also, another thing I love about it is the fact that, you know, people, you know, over the pandemic, you know, people want to come and see something that they know and they're going to enjoy. And whenever, especially because we were one of the first tours to go out there we started during social distance. So we were in the theatres that were half full, but by God, them people that were like, we opened in Southampton, which is a 2,500 seater. So we can only fit it to 1,000 people, but they put out a sound. You know, we were told not to shout out or anything like that, but they didn't care. And I took my hat off to them. I was like, you know, and I was, because I was worried. I was thinking, are we going to be able to survive and live through it? But it just seems, everyone seems to have come in their droves and really wanted to celebrate theatre again. So, meeting people afterwards, they said, you know, we've been locked in for 2 years, and we were so excited coming to see a bit of live theatre, and again, they've been back about 5 times. Do you know what I mean? They come and see it again because they know what they're getting, and you know that they as you say, as I've said it before, they feel part of it, and they feel like it's, especially when it's the first time, I suppose, with you, it's the first time you watched Rocky Horror. Yeah, it holds a place in you. It holds something in you, and that's why you come back. And you as you say, you're going to come and see it 70th time next week. Yeah, you know, because you know what other shows are like that people. I know people that have been watching it hundreds of times. You know, I've been watching it right from the beginning. You think this is amazing. It really is.
Yes, I would wholeheartedly agree, because the first time I saw it, it was in York. Went to a matinee, no idea what it was, and we came out the theatre and booked the evening show straight away, and we went twice that day. So it's got that. Perfect. It's got that effect. But this is a twofold question for you. Firstly, if you were going to swap roles with anyone in the show, who could you swap with? And then secondly, if you were coming to the show, who would you dress up as?
Okay, so if I was going to swap roles, I've actually thought about this. I would be Brad. The only reason I want to be Brad is because I want to do the floor show. Yeah. Because I don't actually get to do that, and I love that song. So I would love to do when he comes out and he's a bit shy, and also and then he's also like a sex god. Do you know what I mean? Type of thing. So I would like to be Brad, and if I was coming to as an audience member, do you know what I like? You know what I actually do like is when people dress up as a Phantom. They have the suit on, they have the sunglasses, and maybe a party hat. They just really smart, but then on the bottom arm, it's suspenders, heels, and tights. Do you know what I mean? I think that's really, I don't know. It just there's something about it that's like, you know, you're civilized, but underneath you're a bit naughty and nice. Do you know what I mean? And so I would either dress like that, you know, because I don't think if I was an audience member, if I hadn't done this role, I don't know if I'll have the nerve to put on Frank's gear, first of all. But then say that, if I'd seen it again, I must probably be dressing up as Frank. But yeah, it would most probably my first costume would be, you know, the Phantom at the top and then the sexy laundry at the bottom. I think that's quite sexy. That's a good
shout. That is a good shout. I have some more questions that are more just about you rather than the show. And the first one being, what was the first piece of theatre that you can remember seeing?
So my first piece of theatre was actually going to the Dominion Theatre to go and watch Grease. I went and watched Grease when it first opened because I absolutely loved the film, and I was a big, you know, John Travolta fan, and watching that just sparked something in me. And then after that, I went and watched Phantom of the Opera, which is a show for me that I would love to be in. Just never had the opportunity to ever really go up for it, but that's definitely on my bucket list that I'd love to tick to be. Even if I was an alternate, do you know what I mean? Alternate Phantom, do you know what I mean? I'd just love to play that role.
Hopefully one day, fingers crossed. Yeah. Do you have a favourite piece of theatre that stood out that you've seen in your life?
Now the only thing, see, there are so many, but the recent one that I went and saw recently was Back to the Future. I went and watched Back to the Future, and it was one of them shows that obviously, because I'm working all the time, I don't get to see an awful lot of theatre because I'm always working. However, I had the opportunity to go and watch that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the creativity of it, and I thought, Back to the Future, how are they going to put that on stage? And I love that, you know, some parts of it are tongue-in-cheek. And again, it was one of those shows that was a real good fun time, and they didn't take themselves seriously, but the fans still had the elements of the film that they wanted, you know, and seeing a DeLorean, you know, on stage and crying all over the place, I thought that was great, you know. I think I've given that away because I think they leave it as a don't tell anyone, but anyway. But yeah, I and also, when I went to Broadway, I went and watched Hairspray on Broadway, the original cast of Hairspray, and I was blown away, you know, by it. So there's a few, you know, that I can mention, but like, yeah, when I first went over to Broadway, I went and watched Hairspray, and I was like, wow, that was amazing. You know, just the actors, just the songs. I love a film. I love a real good musical anyway. I love like good music, you know, that you can get up and dance to. And I heard the album before, and I was like really excited to go and watch it. So yeah, it was Hairspray.
I will vouch for your dancing, having seen you at the Cher show, of course.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, my other half.
Yes.
My other half danced the way to believe. Yeah, love it.
If you could revisit any of your previous roles, though, now you're a little bit older, which one would you choose to go back to?
Oh, God. There's two. Do you mind if I say two?
Yeah, two, that's fine.
So my first big professional show was Saturday Night Fever. And I did it for about 2.5 years, and I ended up playing Bobby C on the second tour, and it was about a guy who got he was only a young guy, he's only like 17, 18, these characters, and he gets his girlfriend pregnant and he doesn't know what to do. Now, I know it's obviously it's just, I'd love to go back to that. To just from what I've been living with, to actually the anxiety of it, and the you know the feeling of like, you know, and actually, because obviously at the end of the show he kills himself. Do you know what I mean? And I was pretty, but I'd love to go back and play that role with different fresh eyes. And another one is going back to the Jersey Boys, because I'd love to go back and portray. You know, portray Tommy maybe a little bit different, you know, and as you say, the older you become, the more wiser you become. Yeah. And the Big Jersey Boys, it goes through an arc of, you see these guys when they're in their early 20s till they're in their like late 40s. So it's just having that arc and having that growth. You know, especially with Tommy, you know, the Jersey Boys, it was all about Tommy's story, really. He broke the band, and he was a right git, really, you know. But I know where he was coming from it, you know, and you know, it was. I would like to go back to that. Yeah. You know, I felt like the show had a lot of heart to it. Do you know what I mean? And so yeah.
Very good. And I know you're quite into your bikes, so that may come into this, but if you weren't into theatre, what do you think would you be doing with your life?
Do you know what? I had a young gentleman come to watch the show yesterday. He was 12 years old, and he wants to become an actor. He wants to be performing musical theatre. And I said, is this all you want to do? He said, yeah. And I said, you know what? This is all I've ever wanted to do. And from a young age, that's all. I've never thought of anything else, Mark. It was just, you know, if you have to do this career, that you have to put your whole life and soul into it. But because I've got older, and you know, I've achieved, you know, things that I've wanted to achieve. Don't get me wrong. There's still some other things that I'd love to achieve. But if I had to choose a different career, I would love to be a mechanic. I would love to be, because I am obsessed with bikes. Yeah. A bike goes by, I'm always studying about them. I always know, you know, what engine they are, and you know, and during the pandemic, me and a fellow friend of ours, just before the pandemic, went on a course in Brighton. And we ended up learning to actually service and take things apart and actually rebuild them, you know. So it was only for a week. It was just, you know, because it can get expensive. You know, at one point I had 5 motorbikes, you know, and servicing them and getting them, that's a lot of money. Yeah. At the moment now I've only got one, but I've got my mind set on another one. I've only got a Harley Davidson now. Yeah. But I love tinkering around with my bike and actually... I always customise them, you know, and make them my own. And it's like a real thing. You know, it's only nut and bolt, but people are always scared about jumping in and doing it. So if I was going to do it, I'd love to actually be an engineer or something. Do you know what I mean? But it's just I haven't got the mental capacity for that. So maybe just a mechanic. Yeah,
it's still pretty good. Yeah. This is more of a deep question for you. Simply, what does theatre mean to you?
Theatre, God, wow, like, theatre to me has been my love for so long. You know, it's what I've always wanted to do, and it's sometimes I have to pinch myself that, you know, I actually get to do something that I love doing, and so. It's especially doing this show as well. It's all about liberation and you know, and I think what theatre means to me is liberation. Is actually doing something that you want to be doing. And do you know what that question? I could be here for hours talking about it. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them things. I just love what I do, and I've never really seen it as a job. I've always seen it as something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm doing it. You know, especially in this hard time, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like with everything, you know, you get extreme lows on this, in this industry. But by God, when you get the high, because you definitely get the highs with it, and I think that's what's quite addictive about it. And I've been looked after on in my career. Do you know what I mean? I've been extremely lucky in roles that I've done, and you know, so I can't complain. But this job has never been, you know, working in theatre. It's a joy to be in, and to be part of something that I love doing. Yeah. I can't really tell you anything else. Yeah.
No, that's pretty good. My final question for you today is simply: can you describe Rocky Horror in 3 words for people who may not come to see it?
Okay. Wow. Do you want to explain Rocky Horror in 3 words? Okay. Sexy, funny. Get up and do the time walk with us. You'll have the best time of your life. If you've never seen Rocky Horror, you'll be taken for a whirlwind of emotions, really. You know, especially not just from us, but also from the crowd. It's an experience in itself.
Yes, very brilliant. Thank you for your time. I hope Glasgow treats you well. Obviously, enjoy the break when it comes after next week, because obviously it's a nice little good solid break. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday.